All right, guys. So we're going to go forward with what we're doing here on the site plan. Okay, so I mentioned before the site plan that we're going to work with, we're emulating as if we're in an well, before we were emulating as if we are the civil engineers and we developed this. You know, we basically created the floor plan, or the site plan rather, around the architectural background, and now we're going to reinsert this file back into Revit as if the civil engineer gave it to the architect and he's like, here you go, here's your site plan, you know, grading is done, all of the concrete is laid out properly, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, this is a much more simplified version of a site plan. I just want to show you how this works and how to make it look good when it gets into Revit. So let's go back into Revit. Where I'm going to work is actually on the site plan sheet. I'm going to turn this guide grid off real quick. So there we go. In the actual site plan view, this is where you're going to insert, this is where you're going to insert the CAD file. So there are two primary ways of inserting a CAD file. You can insert a CAD file that's relative to a specific view, and you can have it live in the foreground or background of that view, or you can insert a CAD file as an actual three-dimensional element. And even though it's only two-dimensional, I say three-dimensional because if you look at it in 3D, it's going to show up in that view, and you can literally elevate it up and down through your building. So those are two very distinct workflows, and they're the kinds of things that when you learn it, it takes like many times to really master it. And even now, I only do it at the beginning of each of my projects, and most of my projects happen like, you know, over the course of like 2 years. So if you think about it, I only do this process like once every 2 years. But it's important to understand. So anyway, what you're going to do is you're going to insert, and before we insert anything, I have to point out to you two very important things. If you look up here, we have two general categories. We have link and we have import. They're tremendously different. If you import a CAD file, it's going to drop the CAD file in as if it's like a block in AutoCAD, and you can explode it and modify it and all that other stuff. But remember what I was telling you about line weight control? You never want to explode a CAD file in your project. If you need to, open up another project, explode it there, change everything to line types that you like, then bring it into your project. Okay, but anyway, that's besides the point. What we're doing is we're going to link the CAD file because we're going to emulate this process where the civil engineer hands you the CAD file and you say, okay, I put it behind my building and I'm going to use that to coordinate the design of the site. So if anything changes, I can refresh the file and it'll show those updates. Does that make sense? Yes, okay, let's proceed. So we're going to go to link CAD, and this is the file that we're linking, and I want to call out some information down here. So first and foremost, what I mentioned about it being connected to the view versus being an actual three-dimensional element, this is the checkbox for that. Orient to view. That's, or rather, current view only right here, and orient to view are the ones that kind of assign whether or not it's only going to live in this view or if it's going to be a three-dimensional element. So anyway, we're going to switch our colors to black and white. You can correct lines that are slightly off axis if you want. Usually that's a good idea. We can change the positioning and switch it to like manual, or just leave it on auto origin. What I'm going to do is manual, probably manual center, just because that's going to be easier for me. And then we're going to hit open. So you can hit yes to that. It's just saying I didn't find anything in paper space. Oh, it didn't drop it in. Oh, it did. It put it all the way over here. Okay, so that's a really important thing to note. Oh, did I drop it in paper space or in my view? I think I dropped it in paper space. Okay, my bad. So go back in, make sure your view is active. Go to Link CAD, select it. Good. Yes. And it's not visible. So this is kind of like, this happens almost all the time when you're loading CAD files. You sometimes have to find where it is. So let's go to, actually let's go to VV for our visibility graphics. And let's make sure that we have imported categories turned on. We do. Huh, that's weird. Maybe I dropped it outside of the crop boundary. No. On the 3D. New. Let's try if we link it here. Let's see, black and white, center level 1. So that's letting me load it in 3D. I don't know why it wouldn't show me it here. Well, anyway, just go into 3D for now because that's going to serve our purposes. Okay, that's the way I wanted to install it anyway, or to link it anyway. So, so anyway, what you've got here is your AutoCAD file now living in this modeling environment. So I have to locate this thing properly. And notice how it shows up in each of these views. So when I inserted it in the 3D view, it didn't show up in my plan view. So I'm going to locate this exactly in the position that my building is in. And then I'm pretty much good to go. What you'll see here is that the site plan is, right now it's all kind of basic line types and everything like that. So I've shown you how to link it in, but I do want to show you real quick how to set up an actual view template for it. But before I do that, what questions do you have? None? Okay. Hang on, I'm going to try and troubleshoot the view setting thing before I stop the video. Okay, guys, just giving you a heads up here. The file actually did insert in my site plan. It's just, or is that outside? Oh, it inserted outside. Never mind. Hang on. Okay, guys, so this is actually something I never really noticed before. I don't know why it's doing this. Maybe it's just a feature or something that I never encountered because I always did it through a different workflow. But it seems like even when you have the view open and you link CAD to it, when you have the view open on a sheet, it looks like it just defaults to placing it on the sheet anyway. So, so you notice that I had that view open, but I have to deselect the view, and then it's actually active on the sheet itself. So what you've got to do is open the view. I don't know why it does that, or forces you to do that. But anyway, open the view, go to link CAD, do the same thing, exactly the same process, and it comes in properly scaled and everything. So it should auto scale, assuming you drew it without having like a crazy, like one of those weird AutoCAD scales that some people sometimes do. So you can move it into place at that point as well. Okay, so that would wind up being your site plan. Let me close that one out. Oh, also notice that when we insert it into the view, guys, it takes a little bit of a different format because when you insert it into a view, it now comes in as an import symbol, even though it was a linked CAD file. So now you have the option, like right here, I placed it behind my building, and I can see the roof, and then I see the site plan behind it, but I can change where it's located relative to my building to be in the foreground instead. So now I'm seeing that CAD file is actually existing above my building, even though it doesn't exist in the three-dimensional plane. You guys get that? The difference between the two? If you insert it in the 3D view, it's going to come in as a 3D object. If you insert it in the floor plan view, it's going to come in as a like a floor plan reference object. Any questions? Okay, so the way I actually want to insert this is to, or I should say link it, is I'm going to link it in the 3D view because I want to be able to kind of control it relative to the building. So, and see it in all views and turn it off wherever I don't want to see it. So I'll do it that way. All right, guys, let's get to that point, and then we will set up our view template.